Hey, it's fully funded here. I retired in my 30s as a millionaire, and now I'm living off passive income. Let's talk. Today, I want to talk about why I'm not a fan of dividend investing in general. Okay. So, when I say dividend investing, I'm talking about, looking at individual companies for the most part, and even most dividend ETFs. Why I don't really like them in general. And I think that they're by far a waste of time for most people. It's because there's a better solution out there, which is SCHD, that index. That answers all questions. And I'll break down why I say this. Okay. And we're assuming that, someone's trying to live off of their investments the true way. We're not talking about covered calls where you have to micromanage or anything like that. So let's get down to the bigger picture. Look, the whole purpose for me when I think about dividend investing is thinking about the idea of getting passive income. Okay. That's what I'm thinking about when I think dividend investing personally. So if my goal is to have passive income, right, where I can just sit back, relax, and not think about money and have everything automated, keyword, then SCHD is where it's at. So let's talk about personalized like dividend investing, where you're looking at like your own individual companies and stocks, maybe multiple ETFs for the most part, and just looking at all this stuff. That takes effort, especially like individual based stocks, right? I see people doing this stuff. That takes a lot of effort to micromanage. You have to research, you have to know when to sell. If a company's not doing well, you have to check out their earning calls. It's a full time job. Now, that being said, I want to put a disclaimer out there. If someone enjoys the process of doing that, then it's totally fine. And I've seen people successfully retire having 100 stocks or how much ever they have individualized. But it is effort. And for me personally, again, when I think about passive, it's mean I want to be able to focus on other things in my life and not just that. Again, if it's a hobby, then it's fine. But if it's not a hobby and this is something that you just want to focus on other things in life, then this is not the best way to go. So that's one of the main reasons why. Now let's talk about even ETFs such as we'll talk about in a bit, but like even a covered call ETFs or others that just don't do a good job at filtering for dividends well, right? That where the yields are kind of in the middle, like 2% yields and stuff like that. To me, that's capital inefficiency, right? Like 2% yields with still like low dividend growth compared to SCHDs. Like why? Why would I even waste my time with that either? That's just like a middle ugly. Like I just don't like that either. So that's the reality. Like most dividend stuff underperform SCHD. And I'll tell you what I mean by that exactly. I'm talking about the combination of healthy capital efficiency at 3.5% yield. And top of that, consistent dividend growth rate, like consistently hitting around 10%. Even VIG, which is another dividend fund, it had the same dividend growth rate as SDHD, but starts off at a much lower yield. What's the point? Especially for living off your investments. And some of them just have poor price appreciation. It's just a lot. The point is that a lot of this stuff is just way too much micromanaging. And covered call ETFs is a different kind of beast where you have to micromanage, again, how much you should reinvest back into it, understanding the weird tax codes and tax implications. So for me, even though, yes, I have the intellectual capacity to understand all this stuff, it's like, well, it kind of negates the point. I want to have something that's as capital efficient as possible, as tax efficient as possible, and allow me to just live where, even in brokerages, right? Like it's a lot more complicated to have automatic sells, selling, withdrawing your portfolio. That's, not necessarily dividend investing, but that's just a lot of work. So anyways, the big picture is that I personally prefer to have a set it and forget it solution. When I think about passive income and dividend investing, I'm thinking about just an ETF, maybe one or two where you just don't even have to think about it. You're getting paid. All that, balance sheet stuff is being processed for you. I don't have to do it the balance sheet stuff myself. So we live in an age where we have funds like SCHD that are capital efficient, that do grow in price. Example, this year I'm up 300K, right? From holding SCHD, right? I'm not saying that's how it's going to be every single year, but I'm getting good price appreciation while getting paid to wait because my income floor is stable. And that's what I call true passive investments. I'm getting 300K plus just in a price appreciation, getting paid my quarterly dividends without thinking about anything. And all this is automated and streamlined. So yeah, I mean, that's what passivity is about, not having to make decisions month to month,